Britt Westbourne's hands started shaking again, but this time there was no medication left to stop it. And somewhere in the shadows, Ross Cullum was smiling, because he knew exactly how to use that against her. Britt pressed her trembling fingers against the cold wall, trying to steady herself. Her breath came fast, uneven. The fear wasn't just physical anymore, it was psychological. Every second without her medication felt like a ticking clock inside her body. And she knew exactly who held the power now. Ross Cullum, the man who had already proven he was capable of anything. The man who smashed her medication vials on that pier, like her life meant nothing. And worse, the man who almost killed her. Britt shut her eyes tightly, but the memory wouldn't go away. The crashing sound of glass, the cold wind off the water, Cullum's grip tightening on her arm as he dragged her toward Windermere. She had fought, hard, desperate, but she had been weak. And he knew it. That was the worst part. Cullum didn't just see her vulnerability, he weaponized it. But that wasn't the worst part. Because Britt never saw the moment everything changed. She remembered the struggle, the impact. Then darkness. When she woke up, everything was different. Cullum had been shot. And Jason Morgan was standing there. Calm, controlled, dangerous. Jason had told her exactly what to say. He told her to tell the cops that he pulled the trigger. At the time, Britt didn't question it. She trusted him. Or maybe, she just didn't have a choice. But now everything felt wrong, because Cullum wasn't dead. And he was asking questions, dangerous questions. Britt swallowed hard as she felt another tremor ripple through her hands. She tried to hide it, tried to stay strong, but deep down she knew, Cullum had already noticed. "You're getting worse," Cullum said quietly, his voice calm in a way that made it even more terrifying. Britt forced herself to meet his gaze. "I'm fine." A lie. A weak one. Cullum smirked slightly. "No, you're not." He stepped closer, too close. Britt instinctively leaned back, her heart pounding harder with every second. "You should have stayed out of this," Cullum continued. "But now you're exactly where I need you." Her stomach dropped. That wasn't just a threat, that was a plan. "What do you want?" Britt asked, trying to keep her voice steady. Cullum tilted his head. "Answers, of course. This was always about control, about information. Jason shot you," Britt said quickly. Cullum's eyes narrowed. He didn't believe her. "Not for a second. And you expect me to believe that?" he asked, his tone sharp now. "It's the truth," Britt insisted, but even as she said it, something inside her twisted. Because she didn't actually know if it was. And that's when things got even more dangerous. Cullum stepped even closer, lowering his voice. "Let's try this again." His gaze locked onto hers. Why would Jason Morgan take the fall unless he was protecting someone? Britt's heart skipped. There it was. The real question, the one she couldn't answer. "I don't know," she said. Another lie. Or maybe not. Because the truth was, she really didn't know, but Cullum didn't buy it. Not even a little. "You expect me to believe you were just unconscious for the most important part," he pushed. Britt stayed silent. Her pulse racing, her thoughts spinning, because now even she was starting to wonder. Who was Jason protecting, and why? Cullum watched her carefully, studying every reaction, every flicker of emotion. "You're holding out on me," he said flatly. "I'm not," Britt shot back. But her voice cracked. Just slightly, and Cullum caught it. "Of course he did. That's a mistake," he said quietly, and then he changed the game completely. Cullum reached into his pocket and pulled something out. A small vial. Britt's breath caught instantly. Medication, her medication. Her eyes locked onto it like it was oxygen, like it was survival, because it was. "You want this?" Cullum asked casually. Britt didn't answer, she didn't need to, he already knew, and that's when the trap snapped shut. "Then give me a name," Cullum said. Britt froze. The room felt colder. He wasn't bluffing. "You tell me who really shot me, and maybe I let you have this." Her heart pounded louder, faster. "No," Britt said, shaking her head. "I told you I don't know." Cullum sighed, almost disappointed. "You're running out of time," he said. Britt's hands trembled harder now, her body betraying her. her condition getting worse, right in front of him, and he was enjoying it. That was the sick part. Cullum wasn't just threatening her life, he was watching it slip away, piece by piece, but that wasn't the worst part. Because Cullum leaned in close and whispered something that sent chills down her spine. "I've decided to let you live." Britt blinked. Confused, terrified. "What?" Cullum smiled, cold, calculated. "You get to live long enough to feel every symptom," he continued, "every tremor, every loss." Britt's breath hitched. "No. And if you don't cooperate?" Cullum added softly. He held up the vial, then slowly lowered it out of her reach. "You don't get this." Silence filled the room, heavy, crushing. Britt felt like the walls were closing in. Because now, this wasn't just about secrets, this was about survival, and she had nothing to bargain with, nothing to give him. Because the truth? The real shooter? It wasn't someone she could expose, it was someone she had to protect. At all costs. And that's when everything became impossible, because Britt finally realized something terrifying. Even if she found out the truth, she could never tell Cullum, never. Not if it meant destroying an innocent life. Not if it meant betraying someone who didn't deserve this. But that choice, it came with a price. A deadly one, because Cullum wasn't done. Not even close. He stepped back, watching her struggle, watching her shake, watching her break. And then he said the one thing that changed everything. "Tick-tock, Britt." Her heart dropped. "Figure it out," he added, "because if you don't." He didn't need to finish the sentence. She already knew, and as another tremor hit her harder than before, Britt realized she was running out of time, fast. But what she didn't know yet was that the truth behind that gunshot was far more dangerous than she could ever imagine, and when she finally discovered it, everything would change. Britt couldn't stop shaking, not just from the disease, but from the truth she was getting closer to and the danger that came with it. Because somewhere out there was the real shooter, and if Cullum found out first, it would be over. For everyone. Britt paced back and forth, her thoughts spiraling. Jason's face kept flashing in her mind. Calm, unshaken, certain. He had taken the blame without hesitation. That meant one thing: he wasn't just protecting someone, he was protecting someone who mattered, someone vulnerable, someone who couldn't survive the consequences. And that's when it hit her, hard, sudden, terrifying. "No," Britt whispered to herself. Her breath caught, her eyes widened. Because there was only one person who fit that description, one person who would explain everything, one person Jason would sacrifice everything for: Rocco Falconeri. Britt's heart started racing uncontrollably. It didn't make sense, and yet, it made perfect sense. Rocco had been there, closer than anyone realized. And if something went wrong, if fear took over, if he acted without thinking, it could have happened. That gunshot. That moment. That mistake. And suddenly, everything clicked into place. Jason stepping in, taking the fall, protecting the truth, protecting a child, and that's when things got even more dangerous, because now Britt knew something she could never say out loud. Never, not to Cullum, not to anyone who could use it. Because if Cullum found out, Rocco would be destroyed. His life, his future, everything. Britt staggered slightly as another wave of weakness hit her. Her body was giving out, faster now, her time was running out. And Cullum knew it. "You look like you've figured something out." Cullum's voice cut through the silence. Britt froze, too late. He saw it. He saw everything. The realization, the fear, the truth. "No," she said quickly, but her voice betrayed her again. Cullum smiled slowly. "There it is," he said. Britt's stomach dropped. "You know who it is." The air felt suffocating now. "I don't," she insisted, but it didn't matter anymore. Cullum wasn't guessing now, he was certain. And that made him even more dangerous. "Then let's test that," he said calmly. Britt's heart pounded louder. "What are you going to do?" she asked. Cullum tilted his head. "Oh, I think you know." And that's when everything took a darker turn, because Cullum wasn't just going to wait for answers anymore. He was going to force them out. One way or another. Britt backed away slightly. You can't do this, she said. Cullum raised an eyebrow. Can't I? And in that moment Britt realized something horrifying. There were no limits for him. None. Not anymore. I'm giving you one last chance, Cullum said, holding up the vial again. Britt's eyes locked onto it, her body practically screaming for it. You tell me who pulled that trigger. He paused, letting the tension build. Or you suffer. Britt closed her eyes tightly, her mind racing, her heart breaking, because she knew what he wanted. And she knew what she had to do. Refuse, no matter what. No, she whispered. Cullum's expression hardened instantly. What did you say? Britt opened her eyes, stronger now. Determined. I said no. Silence, heavy, explosive. And then, Cullum snapped. You're making a mistake, he barked. Britt flinched but didn't back down. I don't know who shot you, she said firmly. Another lie. But this time, it was necessary, because the truth would destroy everything. And that's when things reached the breaking point. Cullum stepped forward aggressively, grabbing her arm, tight. Painful, Britt gasped. You think you can outplay me? He growled. Her heart pounded violently, fear surged through her veins. But she didn't speak. She couldn't. Because if she did, everything would fall apart. Cullum stared at her for a long moment, searching, waiting, but Britt held on, barely. And then he let go. Suddenly, unexpectedly, Britt stumbled back, shocked, breathing hard. Cullum exhaled slowly, regaining control. Fine, he said coldly. Britt's chest tightened. If that's how you want to play this. He looked at the vial one last time, then slipped it back into his pocket. You don't get another dose. Britt's world tilted. No, please, she started, but he cut her off. You made your choice. And just like that, the last bit of hope disappeared. Britt's legs felt weak. Her vision blurred slightly, because now, this wasn't just a threat anymore, this was reality. And the consequences were already starting, but that wasn't the worst part. Because Cullum turned back one last time, and what he said next changed everything. You may not talk, he said quietly, but people around you. Britt froze, her blood ran cold, they might not be so loyal, her breath caught. Because suddenly, this wasn't just about her anymore. Cullum wasn't going to stop with Britt, he was going to dig, search, push, until he found the truth. And if he got close to Rocco, it would be over, for all of them. Britt's fear turned into something else. Determination, because now, she wasn't just fighting for herself, she was fighting for him, for Rocco, for his future, no matter the cost, even if it meant sacrificing everything, even if it meant losing her own life. Because some secrets had to be protected. No matter what. And as Britt stood there shaking, broken but still standing, one terrifying truth echoed in her mind. This war was just beginning. And the next move could destroy everything. What do you think Britt should do? Should she protect Rocco no matter what? Or tell the truth before it's too late? Drop your opinion in the comments, and if you want daily General Hospital spoilers, shocking twists and deep breakdowns just like this, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notification